Hi, I'm Chelsey Lowe here at the Enterprise Center with the founder of Forman Mills, Mr. Rick Forman. Thank you for joining us today and for your support of the Enterprise Center.
Yes, you're welcome.
So what inspired you to start Forman Mills? Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, and you mentioned the Enterprise Center. Enterprise Center has been great. That has been great through the years. Initially, I was on the board, the original board. And anyway, I was always an entrepreneur as a kid. You know, always had, I would charge kids to come into my house and have restaurants or fairs or whatever, always enterprising. But then as I got older, there was flea markets and street fairs and things like that. And a friend of mine, we had a landscape business and, he got mono one summer, something happened that one summer. We ended up going to the flea market in South Jersey, Englishtown, Columbus, street fairs. We were selling water guns. We were selling toys. We were selling defective hair blowers. I remember we bought a deal from Conair. It was like store returns.
Mm-hmm.
You'd plug them in and some of them would spark up and catch on fire and stuff. So that's the first I learned about product liability at that time. So we took them out to the flea market. We sold that. It's really where the rubber hits the road in the market.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that and I wasn't even driving at that point. I was 15 years old. And that just gave me the bug for, retail and entrepreneurism, basically.
And then how did you start the store and how long after doing those flea markets did you actually start your first?
I guess I was 21 and my partner was leaving the business. We both went to Rutgers College and I was basically in the back of the class looking at purchase orders and getting kicked out because I was so busy buying T-shirts and running my own business, so he couldn't, our parents couldn't take that. They were young. The kids are going to drop out. And he ended up going on and graduating. And I ended up opening a store on Frankfurt Avenue, in Philadelphia under the L. And it just happened to be a real busy area that somebody said, go check out. And I got this old burned out alley in the middle of Frankfurt Avenue. And that started just by luck being in a very dense urban area, basically in Philadelphia. And there wasn't competition at that time. I was just sort of lucky that I picked that location.
And how did you fund? Was the first store funded through your other endeavors with your business partner? Where did that first funding come from?
Just from cash flow, to make capital. That's why I always talk to the young people too, and anybody really going into business to really focus on that one thing. Like we were the kings of T-shirts, sweatshirts at the flea market. We came up with a price point, like 3 for $5, one price. So it was crazy, like 3 for $5. We get on top of the tables and come out with printed tees and sweatshirts and it would be mobbed. So I always pretty much was lucky to always have cash flow. Started with $80 that I remember my dad throwing at me, and I picked up the ones and stuff, but we turned that in just by hard work and got lucky with that. Although there were some original employees that actually lent us money or we didn't pay them for a week or something. They're the ones that I owe like everything to, like I'm indebted to them, some of the people that were with me in the very beginning, because everybody has a cash flow problem in the very beginning. But we were lucky to really figure out what is the secret sauce? Like, what is that one category that you're really good at? Don't try to get too far to the left or to the right. Try to really focus. So I was lucky with cash flow.
So it seems like you had some great employees when you first started out. How did you make your first hires? Or do you have advice for someone who's starting out and they're looking to bring on someone on for the first time?
Well, hiring is always difficult. If you're talking to a group of entrepreneurs from around the country, let's say, and we're in a room, we get them, everybody's going to say, oh, the hiring process is crazy, So it's really, if you can bat 50% or 30%, you're there, in the beginning, if you're bootstrapped, if you really have a good concept, right, you're going to do a lot of that. I mean, it's, if it ain't broke, break it type of thing. Or I even say it's okay to micromanage. A lot of times you want to delegate, it may be the opposite. So I think that you're going to have to wear a lot of hats and you really can't rely on the perfect hire in the beginning. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to get focused. You're going to have to get cash flow. Then you have to figure out, is there a number two? Is there somebody that can complement what you're doing. And I had to learn that the hard way. You go through a lot of different people. They may not have the right job aspirations, let's say, or the right background. And you just keep moving on. But that's really difficult, that end of it.
Yeah, hiring it's a challenge. I know Forman Mills is very much known for your infamous chant, and a lot of your marketing everyone kind of knows or has at least heard of the business. Can you tell us more about your strategy when it came to marketing and paid advertisements?
Yeah, I mean, I always keep saying it's lucky, but it's really not luck, but it was something I remember with our advertising guy, Eric Gerstein. He's the voice that did the shout. Mm-hmm. So it was basically, no, Eric, it was more of a perfectionist type of thing. Like, no, it's Forman. You have to hold it at the top. And I don't know why I like that. It was almost like I look at marketing like Nickelodeon, like that kind of thing. There's something there. And I think I had a good instinct with what, I don't know, just something that seems to be famous. I don't know why. It's iconic that the kids will look at the back of a bus and see our logo and scream, at 3 years old, Forman Mills, So, I think that was very important. This was really pre-internet. So I think buses, which are big now, everybody is still driving. Mm-hmm. So you see the buses. I still like transit as my number one. Radio and some of the others, it gets lost a little bit. So in 2017 and beyond, you have to find out what is everybody listening to, watching, are they online? And even being online is difficult now because there's so much competition for the same eyeballs, for the same, it's not like it was 10 years ago. Urban Outfitters would they would email you a deal and everybody would go running. But now it doesn't, you're just bombarded by all this. So that's a question right now. What is the best way to go when it comes to advertising? And a lot of times you have to interview the people and people on the street. What are they looking at? Management by wandering around, getting out there, talking to the people. That's what I always believed in. It's not in a classroom.
And can you talk more about your expansion? So how did you go from having that one store on Frankfurt to over 30 stores around the country?
Yeah, just from that initial success, like a lot of us have big dreams. We want to do this and we want to grow and we want to get partners and we're talking about everything but the core business. So I always draw a circle like the nucleus. Get that core idea in place. Make sure you're making a profit and there is cash flow there. And then if that's good, you're going to create demand. You're going to create that demand. And then so once we created the demand in Frankfurt, I went to South Philadelphia and found a warehouse there. And that was just guts and that was entrepreneurial. But that whole South Philly market really didn't know that much about Forman Mills, or they wouldn't take the public transportation to get into Frankfurt. So there you start learning. You learn about demographics. You learn about different areas. Hey, if they like us in West Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, hey, could we do good in New Jersey? Could we do good in Delaware County? And then you have people that demand that. Once you create the demand, they say, hey, you got to open up in Allentown, and then you're on to something. Because getting bigger is not necessarily better. You have to have that. So that puts a lot of companies out of business too. So you do have to study your demographics. You have to get out on the street. You have to drive by. Like I used to drive by a spot before I would take it for a month, middle of the night, 3:00 in the morning, 4:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday, first of the month. The middle of them, you have to really analysis paralysis, in order to know that that's the right location. And then they say location, if that answers that.
It does. And how did you how did you stay competitive once more shopping went to online? How was that a change, or was there a change in your business during that time?
Well, online for us was more the marketing that, more the advertisement. I still believe that there's still bricks and mortars is still really important. We didn't get into, by the time I sold the company, that was one of the reasons I sold. One of the reasons may be that the changing customer, the Amazon mentality. So now that I'm, semi-retired, I'm circling the wagons. There's no way I'm going to be a retired person, but I'm trying to figure out exactly what everybody is looking for. online? And how do you beat Amazon? How do you beat Walmart? And I have some ideas with that. I have some ways that, but I think it's going to be a matter of the bricks and clicks type of thing that, in our case or Walmart's case, let's say you would have bricks and mortars, and then people can order in-store kiosks. They can order online. They can pick it up. There's going to be drive-throughs. So it's a matter of convenience and everything. But we didn't really offer that at that point, but we weren't necessarily competing against the malls, and that type of thing. So I'm like a kid again. I even did the thing where I went to the Philly Tech Week and I put my hoodie on, because I'm trying to learn all that, the technology and, the way that everybody's doing things now. So it's sort of like being reborn. So that's part of it too.
So is media the next step for you? I know you were on Undercover Boss and you kind of had your taste of TV, but are you interested in media? I know you were a huge supporter in opening this space for us for the Enterprise Center. So I'm just wondering, is media tycoon your next step?
If you ask my wife that question, she thinks I want to run the Hollywood, because when I met the people from Undercover Boss, I have friends now that all these people are like writers, producers. They all have another project they're working on, at a certain level. And my nephew is in Hollywood, and I did produce a movie out there. I paid for it basically, but
what was the movie?
It was September Morning, which was about 911. It was sort of like it was very great. It was a great idea. It was like the Breakfast Club. You remember that movie? Mm-hmm. Where they're in the library and kids are talking, and it was about that around 911. What happened to a certain college? He went to Richmond in Virginia, and they locked down the college, after 911 happened, and people met each other and they were locked in and they were talking about life. So it was very cerebral, Generation Z or whatever you want to call it, millennial movie. Mm-hmm. And it did okay. It was in Los Angeles, New York. It's very hard to make money. He did get on, not Netflix, but some of the other stations, That's a lot of fun. I have some other ideas where I think there can be like a marketplace that comes alive. And I can't say that much more about it, but being like a street fair, flea market, is there a possibility that could come alive, with the food trucks and all the different experiences there? And can some of that even be delivered in the same day? Can there be another element to that? And some of that is entertainment, retail-tainment. There could be snippets. There could be things like we're doing here that are entrepreneurial. So I have some ideas with that's all I can really say about that, because we're in development right now on it, trying to think about what that can be exactly,
And then can you share more about, I know you do a lot with the community and a lot when you were working with Forman Mills or running Forman Mills, you were big on philanthropy. Can you share more about your passion for that and giving back?
Yeah, we have, since I sold the company and did well with it, I have a Forman Family Foundation, FFF, I guess, So, but that's been a little sporadic. Like we give to certain charities. I'm part of I'm on the board of the Boys and Girls Club in Camden, involved in diabetes, the JDR or Juvenile Diabetes Foundation. And we're doing sporadic things. If I'm really going to put my head behind something that I really believe in, it is basically what the enterprise represents, like entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. That I believe that if you build it, they will come. I don't care what race or religion or blah, blah, blah. I know there's always problems, but you're not going to change people all the time. But I think if you have a good product, whether it's a good restaurant, a good service, a good location, whatever that is, people will patronize, they'll spend. And that's what I believe in. So how do we get to that where it's real? That's the thing. Because there's so many classrooms, there's so many things going on out there, but is there something that could really break through? And I don't have the answer to that. Even with my flea market idea, I'm thinking there'll be a certain amount of locations that will be put aside for that, but it may be curated. Like instead of just having like a junky flea market like people are used to, and they're not all junky, but, how do you have contests so that people can get to that location? Whether it's music, whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's baked, donuts, how do you get that in front of people's faces, basically, where the rubber hits the road? And the flea market, or where I started, I had the customer is there. They're in your face. There's an idea with that. There's something with that.
So maybe a little bit more exclusive in trying to find it, and it's a more hidden gem.
Space. I mean, like, I'll give an analogy to like the restaurant school. I don't know if they're good now, but so now there's students that actually make a great product. Like they have a restaurant, they don't own it, but they're working and they cook, and then you come and we expect a great product. Now, if we go to lunch at the restaurant school and you have a great experience and the prices are reasonable, you're going to keep patronizing that restaurant. So I think that if there's a lot of talent out there in Philadelphia and surrounding areas and all cities, if there's really a lot of hidden gems that are all over the place, how do you bring that out? And you still want them to compete. You know what I mean? Like, there's still going to be survival of the fittest, I guess. If you're going to have a certain amount of people that you're going to invest in, or you're going to have these flea market tables, they're going to be the best of the best. It's going to be the best donut. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the best CD that they just created, or the music, or whatever that category is. And then you want people to say, I got to get more of that. It's creating that demand, I remember there was a story about famous Amos, the cookie guy in Los Angeles. His grandmom would have these great cookie recipes for Christmas time, and he would bring them to the barber shop. And then they would line up like, Amos, you got to make me another, you'd make these cookie trays. So that was demand. That tells you that you have something good, or you got to create something good. Then you will have the demand. Then Nabisco ended up buying them out, 10 years later for $1 billion or whatever, So it's all about that secret sauce. What do you do well, and how do we make that better? It's not like, okay, we're going public tomorrow, and if I open these locations, and so I'm sorry, I'm going on and on, right?
No, it's great.
It's like therapy or
feedback.
Something, I'm getting my,
Is there any final advice you would give to someone who's an entrepreneur who has a business and wants to eventually, or wants to just grow their business? What's a key piece of advice you would leave them with?
Well, I keep bringing up like the product and the secret sauce. Mm-hmm. And one thing I heard, I think Richard Branson, I don't know, just, when you hear somebody talk, I heard him talk once and he said, sometimes you also have to know when to fold it. I don't want to be negative, but a lot of times we don't want to major in the minor. And that's very difficult to decide on. You may not be right either way. So I really think that is that idea, do you believe in it? The people around you may not believe in it. Like when I first started, I remember my dad and my insurance agent, I was like crying because it was like, you picked this location, when I said that alleyway at Frankfurt, how could you pick this junky location and you're in an alley? And I knew in my bones that it was going to work. And it doesn't always work either, so I think that you have to really believe in something. And if it doesn't hit that nerve, you have to do a pivot. You have to change up and maybe get another product and just keep showing up. You're going to take a lick and keep on ticking, or whatever, weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. If you're an entrepreneur, it, and you're going to keep busting for that. That would be the biggest advice. No, get the secret sauce. Once you believe in it, you'd be obsessed with it. There's no other way.
Well, thank you for talking with us, sharing a little bit about your story. We're really excited to see where you go next. And please come back once you launch that. We want to talk more about that with you as well. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Very good.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan Martin, the production consultant for The Grit Live. If you have any feedback or would like to be featured on this program, please email us at thegritlive@gmail.com. Join us Thursday, May 3rd at Eats for Equity, a special fundraiser showcasing the Center for Culinary Enterprises and some of the businesses that you've heard on the Grit Live's programming. For more details, visit e4e2018.eventbrite.com. That's E4E2018.eventbrite.com. Thank you for listening.